Yo, 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 what's that word? We about to knock it out the park. This is the 3012 in this podcast. I am your host, Roderick Jackson. We got a lot to get into today, so let's let it begin. So first thing I want to talk about, I know a lot of people don't watch Summer League. I don't find myself watching it that much, but I do think it's a place where young NBA talent and players that might have some useful skills should always do every year. We're seeing a few standouts, and we'll get to them a little bit later. But first, I wanted to talk about something that Richard Jefferson brought up, which is even recent first round picks should be going to Summer League. I think this is a smart idea because these players can show in Summer League whether they're part of the rotation or bench players or whatever. They can still gain valuable experience and it helps the team in practice situations because you know somebody that's grinding in Summer League is going to bring it every day in practice. Their main goal is to get a contract in the NBA or the G League, just a chance. So they're going to go all out. They're going to give it their all. And I think that's important to keep up the intensity in a practice, training camp, scrimmage type setting. So, and also for recent first round picks and second rounders, even undrafted players who got a lot of money for guaranteed contracts should be going to Summer League even after their first year because it's added experience. You're going against not so much rugged competition as the regular season and especially the playoffs, but you're getting a chance to like say a player that's not used to handling the ball. You're getting valuable chances to test your ball handling skills, your playmaking skills. You're getting a chance to test out your three-point shot, stuff that you can't do in a regular NBA rotation because your role restricts you in a way unless you're the elite players, i.e. the Kevin Durant's, LeBron James, Stephen Curry. Those type of players, they get free reign. Kyrie Irving, they get free reign over possessions. But as we know, role players, they want them to specialize in pretty much the best thing that you do. So I think Summer League reveals for a lot of these players what their strengths are, reveals for organization what these players' strengths are, and it just might give somebody a chance to get on the NBA roster and utilize those strengths. Now, I want to talk about a Summer League standout. And I'm going to admit, I thought this player should have been the first overall pick. I was surprised, though, that he went number one overall. I'm talking about Mr. Paolo Banchero because leading up to the draft, he was projected to go number three overall. So it was a shock to everybody. But I got to watch this guy play at Duke when they came and played Florida State. I know Florida State will be a major test for him because Florida State, Leonard Hamilton recruits a lot of wing defenders, long players who have defensive mindsets. That's literally their MO. To play defense, get out in transition, play high IQ basketball. They share the basketball a lot. And I knew they'd be a stiff test for them because they were going to play them straight up. They weren't going to be intimidated by them. Duke came in ranked number 6 in the country. Florida State was going through some rough patches. They weren't ranked at all. But I knew they had a chance to win. I know at the very least it'd be a tough game. The game ended up going to overtime, but and Florida State pulled out the win. Huge upset, but Paolo played great in that game. He was playmaking like crazy, seemingly scored at will. They had the double team when he got the ball on the block. It was a really back and forth entertaining game, and it really opened my eyes to, hey, this kid is really talented. He can really be something. So how he's been performing? Well, first, I think I need to elaborate a little bit more on his pedigree. At Duke, he ended up averaging 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1 steal. He was consensus second-team All-American and even won the ACC Rookie of the Year. He was also the number 2 rated player in his class. Some strengths that I see in this game is I feel like he has elite footwork already. Every time he gets into the lane or when he's on the post, he has multiple counter moves, and it starts at his feet. When a player sort of blocks him from going a certain direction, he's so creative in how he turns either shoulder and gets to the spot where he wants to shoot it. He already has the mentality of a pro as far as his approach to the game and how he wants to take shots and how he wants to create shots. The second big thing is, for me, he has already great positional ball handling skills. If you go back and watch some of his highlights or some of his full games from the season at Duke, you see him handling the ball. His handles include crossovers, step backs, almost the total package, especially at his size. He's a large 6'10", 250 pounds. He also has great playmaking. He averaged 3 assists at Duke, but I think in his recent summer league showing, you're seeing a lot more of what he can actually do as a lead ball handler. He never seems rushed. He seems poised. He can get to his spots off the dribble, including to bring the ball up. Looks a lot like Ben Simmons when he's bringing the ball up the court. He doesn't seem like his handle is loose. It seems tight. You can tell he spends a lot of time working on his game, about being an offensive initiator. He showed that in a lot in the Florida State game as well. And I know at Duke they allowed him to handle the ball some, but I think that's going to be the most surprising thing for audience who are not familiar with him when they get to watch him play with their Orlando Magic this year. I think that's going to be the most glaring thing to say, hey, I didn't know that this guy had .4 potential like that. So his weaknesses. Some of his weaknesses, well, one of his weaknesses is he doesn't have an overly great wingspan for a 6'10" player at 7'1" inches on a 6'10" wingspan. To me, that's going to lead to that steal average from college, which is 1.3, going down in the NBA, as well as blocks. And he might not be great in the passing lanes. He does have a high motor on the defensive end, so maybe you'll get some deflections here and there, but I do see that in, decreasing. And also the step up in NBA competition where the players are generally bigger, they have longer arms. It may make it a little bit more difficult to get his shot off, but overall I don't see him being a liability on the defensive end, and I don't see him having much of a trouble getting his shot off and things of that nature. But it's just going to be something that he has to adjust to. And I think that's probably going to be one of his main focuses at the NBA level. And another thing would be his strength. Again, he's only 19 years old. So, of course, he's going to be working out, adding strength over the years. And I think he has a good chance to build up his body, build up his strength, and build up his confidence when finishing. Not that there's a problem. He's also a very, very strong finisher. So I want to talk about a little bit about player comps for Mr. Banchero. I think he has a floor of a Lamar Odom, prime Lamar Odom. So we all knew when Lamar Odom was coming out of college, he was a top prospect, had a lot more length than Banchero, but I think they have similar ball handling skills. Both can be lead initiators. They also have great shot creativity, very crafty in how they go about it. They both have smooth games to them. They both have solid athleticism, not crazy world-class athleticism, but I think they already came into the league, both of them, with the notion of how to play without that crazy athleticism. And this is not to say they're below the rim players. Obviously, Lamar was a great player, and I think Paolo has the chance to be that too if he plays that way, that smooth, silky game, where he can get to his spots, control the action, and be under control, have a sense of poise. I see that already in his game. Let's talk about a ceiling. A ceiling will be, for me, Carmelo Anthony. Like I said, he gets to his spots really efficiently. It seems like he has a frame that can carry more weight. Therefore, like Carmelo, when he gets in the post, he's going to be a problem. He's already a problem. He has a lot of counter moves like Carmelo Anthony. And it seems like he already knows how to get to his spots on the court and where those spots are. Obviously, as teams scheme and they try to take him away from those spots, I think he has the basketball intelligence like Carmelo to then improve his game in other spots to where with all his tools it's going to be hard to defend him. This guy can handle, he can shoot, he can get to the rim, he can make his free throws, finish through contact. He already has the full offensive repertoire as an offensive player. He just needs to fine-tune it. I like to see him experiment more in the pick and roll game. Maybe they'll do that in their coming summer league games. But I think the guy has a high ceiling. Carmelo Anthony, for me, would be a nice ceiling for him, something that he can get to. I see a lot of Carmelo in his game. A little bit about his last summer league game. It was a 2-overtime thriller against the Sacramento Kings, and obviously they have another summer league standout, the number 4 overall pick, Keegan Murray. He had 23 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals in that game. So he was doing it on both ends, and he even had the game-winning assist. So he was all over the place in that game in a positive way. Obviously, good stats, and the most important stat, he led his team to a win. I think his team should really consider not even playing him anymore. He's shown enough against the level of competition that he's going against. And also, the thing about him is he's very sharp in knowing like where he wants to go. So, moving on from that, I also wanted to talk about the Desmond Ricks situation with On3. So, Desmond Ricks was interviewed by On3 reporter Mr. Hayes Fawcett. I hope I'm saying that right. And he released the top 10. Their top 10 consisted of Florida, Miami, LSU, Oregon, Ohio State, USC, Alabama, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Deion Sanders at Jackson State University. Now, I'm a Florida State fan. That's the way I say it like that. But it wasn't surprising considering what happened with Travis Hunter last year. And obviously, these are all major programs, NIL being a factor. But why he didn't include Florida State was puzzling to me, because as a Florida State fan, I follow recruiting. And just 2 months ago, it was reported that this guy was on the verge of committing to Florida State. So to see him not be in their top, to see them not be in his top 10 was extremely surprising and disappointing. It was really just another embarrassment in the series of embarrassments that my team has suffered over the past really 6 years. The reason that he answered for why Florida State wasn't in his top 10 was, I don't know, I guess they gave up or something. So just another black eye to the perception of the program from the outside. Top 10 player in the country, really top 5 at a powerhouse school in Florida. Just basically said your coaches gave up on recruiting him. His lead recruiter, Marcus Woodson. Obviously, I give Marcus Woodson a lot of credit. I probably like him a lot more than a majority in the fan base, due to the fact that he did have a long-standing relationship with Travis Hunter, and I don't think that was all that he didn't want to play for Marcus Woodson in the end. I think that had more to do with the reports that are out there. I don't want to put that on him because the kids say that's not true, but you can read up on you if you want. There's more about it out there. And I like the fact that he brought in Sam McCall and Azaria Thomas, both top 100 DBs, both playing the corner position. Both expected to get a lot of playing time this year in the secondary. They both have the potential to be drafted in a few years, in my opinion. They both have great measurables, so I give them a lot of credit for that. But since signing day ended in February, I would have to say what's going on with the DB recruiting has been a bit puzzling. You look at players that they tried to get in the portal, Newton from Louisiana Monroe, and a host of other JUCO players. And with them coming down to being the top 3 of those players list and them not signing any of them, they did pick up one DB from Louisville. He seems to be a nice, solid player, very good in practice, very physical. Not sure if he's expected to be a starter this year. Wish I could remember his name. But Greedy Vance. He seemed to be a solid player, doesn't have great measurables, but feisty and very competitive. And I think he raises the floor of the room. But they swung for the fences and they missed, just to be blaming about it. The DB recruiting board for Florida State isn't great. They're currently not in it really for any of the top 100 DBs this cycle. I think the highest rated guy they're pursuing is Ken Kirkland. They do have a commitment from a Quindarius Jones from Mississippi. They really liked him at the recent camp that he came to, offered him. He committed. I like this film. Very fast guy, very solid hitter, solid tackler. I think he has a lot of potential, but he is unranked. And they don't seem to have much momentum on the trails this cycle. And with this Desmond Ricks situation, it doesn't seem like they have very good future momentum on the trail. So reasons that this might have happened that I've seen, that I've done my research on, are two reasons, which was, well, the first one, we can just say they blatantly stopped communicating with the kid, which is terrible. Because you were the leader of this kid, you were the leader for this kid at one point. He named you the leader. But then I know a week later he visited Alabama and actually said they were his leaders. So maybe the staff viewed this as a kid that he didn't really know what he wanted to do at the time. Obviously, he's a 2024 kid, so he has a long time to go. But still, maybe they felt like he was a little too wishy-washy. I still think that's a bad thing. Because regardless, he's a 2024 kid. He was ready to commit at one point. And if you want to get Florida State back to winning ways, you have to be able to win some of these battles. You just can't say, oh, the big school's coming in, or he doesn't know where he wants to go, let's drop him. I don't think that's fair to him. I don't think that's fair to the university and the fan base, to be honest. And I think if you're recruiting in that way, and maybe they aren't, hopefully they aren't, that's unacceptable. You have to be able to have a better read on these kids and where their mindset is, and understand that they are they don't have a final decision in their head. It's still a long way off. There's no reason why they shouldn't have picked up the phone for 2 months and stopped recruiting this kid. Now that's one thing. Another one could be NIL allocation, meaning for certain positions they don't want to spend certain amounts of money. They have in a way, a salary cap for certain positions. Now, Florida State has attacked the trenches. Alex Atkins is one of the best recruiters in the nation, probably the best offensive line recruiter in the nation. He's really holding his own for this Florida State class. Tomorrow, on Monday at 1 p.m., they're looking for a commitment from Lucas Simmons, but it's boiling down to Florida State, Tennessee, Florida, and USC. It can go either way. Most people feel like it's Florida State. He's 6'7", 300 pounds. Probably the best left tackle prospect they've gotten in forever, a multitude of years. And hopefully he goes there and they pick up some momentum on the trail, even with this negative perception out there. But getting back on track a little bit, they just have to do a better job recruiting overall. They're doing a good job on the D inside. They got Keldrick Falk in the fold. He's a good young player. And the general consensus out there is right now is the money that they're allocating to certain positions is to build out the trenches, meaning the offensive line and defensive line. Maybe a little bit here and there at quarterback. They do have Chris Parson committed, 4-star quarterback from Brentwood, Tennessee. They're trying to get another quarterback in the fold, Brock Glenn. I think it'd be beneficial for them to continue that strategy, but they also have to have the mindset that we have to go after the kids that we need in order to turn this thing around. Mike Norvell's first season, they won 3 games. Second season, they won 5 games. This season, the national perception is that this coach is on the hot seat, and that just adds to the negative recruiting, besides the Travis Hunter black eye and obviously this black eye that just happened today with the Desmond Ricks situation. I get it. You don't want to spend your money on cornerbacks because you're in Florida. You feel like, I don't want to be disrespectful, but in a way you feel like they're a dime a dozen. You feel like you can recruit the skill positions. It's a lot easier to find an elite skill position player than it is a player that plays in the trenches, i.e. offensive line, defensive line, linebackers. So I understand it in a way, but you're still going to have to eventually push some money towards those skill position talent. That was Florida State's main weakness last year. They quite possibly had a bottom 5 receiving corps in the entire nation. And it's not good for the perception of the program, because if you have NIL allocation, because you're kind of admitting that you're at a deficit money-wise because you're budgeting in a way. The big programs right now, especially, and I hate to admit this, a team like Miami, who's recruiting great recruiting head coach, they're all in for football. They're committed. When somebody is completely committed, they're willing to do anything in order to find success in that situation. And as a diehard Florida State fan, if you're budgeting, I just don't think that you're all the way committed. I get it that you're still spending money, getting it to Willie Taggart for his buyout situation. You have the football-only facility coming up. And ultimately, I think because of those things, I don't think Mike Norvell has to have a great season this year. Quite frankly, you can't win 5 games at all. You can't win 6 games. You got to make a bowl, or else maybe it's time to look for a different head coach. I mean, a thought that I had that I want to share, a final thought about the situation is, and I've never thought this before. I always thought it was a bad idea, but just with these series of hits, I got to thinking about it more. If Mike Norvell doesn't work out, and I want him to work out, I believe in him, we got to consider bringing Deion Sanders on board. And I say this because if Florida State is maybe making a future move to the Big Ten or SEC, we have to recruit better in order to have success. We just have to. And I think Florida State is behind the ball right now. I think Mike Norvell has been a great head coach 10 years ago. I think he's a good coach now, but 10 years ago, I understand players have been getting paid, but with this new out in the open payment scale, I think that it doesn't work out for the coaches as well, who base their recruiting off of relationships. And I do think he's a great relationship builder. All the kids used to still say that when they come and visit. He gets kids on campus. It just comes a problem when it's closing time. And for me, I think that boils down to kids seeing a bigger payday, just to be frank about it. So, in saying that, going back to the Deion Sanders, he has so many connections in the sport and with his former ESPN contacts. He was big in Texas. He coached their high school ball for a long time. He'd get the fan base excited again to donate their money just because people believe in him. He has very high connections with people with money that can donate to the program, who want to see him have success. And if he ultimately wants to have success for his alma mater, I understand why some people be hesitant about it. I still feel like he has stuff to prove at the level he's currently at. But he's gonna, in my opinion, he's gonna do it. He has a very talented roster for the conference that he's in. Picked up the #1 player, obviously Travis Hunter last year. He's probably gonna dominate. So, and Kevin Coleman as well. He's killing it in the transfer portal, so he can get players to come. So obviously, I think if he were to move to Florida State, well, not just the brand of Deion Sanders, but bring back the glamour, the flash, the spark of Florida State. Make it cool to come to Florida State again. I think that can convince a lot of those players who are looking at us differently now and we got bad perception to jump on board and help change the perception with a name brand like Deion Sanders. We can just look at Travis Hunter and Desmond Ricks, 2 cornerbacks, possibly wanted to be coached by the greatest cornerback all time at a school that they want to be at. To me, it makes a lot of sense. That's if Mike Norvell doesn't succeed. I want to see him succeed. I think he's a good coach, a good young coach. And I understand the working issues that he came with off of the Jimbo Fisher and Willie Taggart eras. But I thank you guys for listening. I'd like you guys to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me why you thought I was wrong, or tell me if you was rocking with the stuff I was saying. Again, let me know in the comment section. Visit Hattie'sCollection.com. We got somewhere. We got a lot of things going on. I thank y'all. Y'all have a good one.